Okay, so this is my first, I guess you could say, preaching video that I prepped for because there's other videos and they give advice and everything else, but like I've never really prepped for a preaching video per se, so this would be the first. And the topic is, as Christians, we have to accept the world for what it is. We have to accept it. As Christians, we have to accept. And so most important, we have to accept that we are born in a process, in a process. We're born in a process, and this process, it's, how would you say it? It's the situation that falls before us day per day. You know, we have to accept it. You know, basically a government project full of condemned souls, an international airport with underworld politics, a Truman Show in which aspects of reality are dictated by the vote of the underworld's general population, a certain generation that dominates the underworld for a certain time. And so you're to say, what did you just say? Yeah, I'm saying that Christians are born, that the world is a lot bigger than we're led to believe, than we were taught, and they teach you this. They teach you this on maps and stuff like that, that the world is small, that the world that it's that the world is 60-70% Asian. They don't teach you that. You have to study it. And so how would you say it? We have to accept that we're born. My theory and what I believe, I strongly believe, because it doesn't stop being a theory. What I strongly believe is that we're born in sectors, that the world, as we know it, you know, is like not even 2%, not even 2% of the actual world that we live in. And that not only is the world bigger, but that there's a galaxy, and that there's you know spaceships, and that there's freaking all types of stuff that exists, that the movies expose the reality. you know if they could think about it and make a movie about it, if they could, why not do it? And what I'm trying to say is that the world is a lot bigger, and that we're basically in this government project, and that we're, how would you say it, we're condemned souls they're waiting, like, for example, uh to elaborate a little bit, that there's government projects all over the entire world, which is immense, right? And that there's people, all types of wicked people everywhere, right? And that every so often a Christian is born, and they try their best to condemn him. They try their best to create fake, aggressive, hostile environments. You know, they try to torment. They create this Truman Show in which, how would you say it? The audience are all condemned, you know, and the Christian is there, and they're watching everything, dictating everything. You know, the baby can of corn costs 75 cents. It's worse, a lot worse than an airport. Back in the day in the United States, you get four big cans for $1. What's the difference? A major difference. And so That's what I strongly believe, and I think that's the most important thing that we have to accept. That's the most important thing that we have to accept, that we are born in a government project full of condemned souls that will try their best to condemn using what they have, because it's a censored reality, you know. It's a censored reality, but very much like Job, where he takes everything away, where the devil, the Satan takes everything away, from Job, because Job, God has him in a comfort zone, and the devil says, "Take from him, take from him." But when he takes everything from him, when they took everything from me, guess what? Everybody else has and has had, you know, and I've never had nothing. I've always been in a very messed up situation after another, after another, after another, and I was never able to. And so, um, when it comes to the point where Job, you know, God never said anything. God never said, you know what, devil, you know what, Satan, you can't do that. You have to stop. You have to stop. No, everything is left to the Satan. Everything is the decision is there, to the Satan, and at that where he's fine. He lets up, and God gives him back. God gives him back everything. You know, it's to the point where they want to, because God's not gonna come from heaven, to give, to help, well, the gods or the Almighty, I guess you could say, you know, are not gonna do that. They're not gonna do that. This is the world. And so this is what I believe, and this is what I think is most important that we have to accept. If you ask, the others, they don't like us. They don't like us. The others, they don't like us. Like the others, they don't like me. If you ever ask yourself that question, it's because of this. Because you're born into a Truman Show, into a neighborhood where babies, you know, are normally grow old quick. They grow old quicker, you know. And when the baby, is a baby for a very long time, they say he's a Christian. He's a Christian, and they all know it. They surround him. They're watching. They have the time to be there watching the baby grow immensely slow. They know he's a Christian, and so they create this Truman Show. And this is what we have to accept, that we're born into basically into a Truman Show, where the audience are condemned souls that have lived life after life after life. You're to say, what's a demon? What's a demon? A demon is not a spirit. They make it seem like it's a spirit. Lies, lies. A demon is a soul that has lived life after life after life. That's a demon. And when they come to admit it, that that people, the skeletons, they're like their skeletons give them away. Like there's so much evidence that it's not even funny. That's what I'm saying. So you get to a point and you realize all this evidence that's there, hitting you in the face. Imagine how much these people eat. Imagine if I could eat a lot. If I could eat a lot, imagine how much a very tall individual, very obese individual, how much they could eat. How much? Like, I would like to know. Like, I would like to see. Not in this world.